This video is part of my Essential Music Theory for Pianists series, and the topic we are going to cover today is the circle of fifths and why it's so important for you as a pianist and just as a musician to know and be able to implement the theoretical concept within your music.
From the beginning, so it's come full circle.
First, let's address the why. Like, why does this matter?
Can you tell me why?
Okay, right off the bat, you need to understand the circle of fifths if you're gonna play stuff in things other than the key of C. Like, there are a bunch of white keys on the piano, but there's a bunch of black keys too.
Play the piano. You need the black keys.
And if you wanna learn how to use them and how they work within keys, scales, chords, all that good stuff, you need to understand the circle of fifths. Secondly, the circle of fifths allows you to transpose music. What does that mean? It means that you can change the key.
That half-step key change. Imagination.
So if something is not working, let's say you're playing with a singer or something, and trust me, this happens a lot when you work with singers and they're like, I don't like this key in my voice. Can you drop it down 3 half steps? And you're like, all right, so we're in F. All right, we gotta go to D. So if you know your circle of fifths, you know the black keys you need, and it's much easier to just
The wiggle wiggle here and the wiggle wiggle there.
move that song to D major. Lastly, the circle of fifths allows you to jam.
Let's jam.
Like, play along, just kind of, improvise with other musicians. Of course, the circle of fifths on its own does not necessitate improvisation skill, but it's what you need to get your foot in the door.
To get your foot in the door.
Like, if I walked in and I was like, yo, dude, let's play a vamp in A flat. Like, if you don't know A flat major, B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, it's gonna be so much harder for you to kind of start to get along. I mean, you can kind of figure it out by ear, but what I found is that once you have that theoretical background, you are truly freed up to be as creative as you want because you have the parameters with which to play with, to bend and break to your desires.
Oh, I am all powerful!
So, if you want any of those 3 things, definitely pay attention to the rest of the video. So firstly, what is the circle of fifths?
What is it?
The circle of fifths is the arrangement of sharps or flats in a sequential order by the interval of a fifth, and each one denotes a key area. It is very important to note right from the beginning, no key area on the circle of fifths has sharps and flats. It's either one or the other.
You can't have it both ways, people.
And we add them sequentially in fifths. And also, this is very important, the order stays the same.
Always the same.
The first flat is always a B flat. The first sharp in our circle of fifths is always an F sharp. And there's a theoretical background to this, like we're moving from the key of C major, so if you go up a fifth, that's G, and then G major has an F sharp. Or if you're going backwards with flats, you go from C down a fifth to F, and then you get a B flat. That doesn't matter. All you need to know is sharps and flats. There's one or the other in key signatures, and they're always in the same order.
Order! Order!
So now the first thing you need to do is memorize that aforementioned order of sharps and flats.
Memorize the rule books.
So let's go over each one individually. Sharps. We use a nice little mnemonic device for the order of our sharps. Fat cats go down alleys eating bacon.
Why is the cat so fat?
I don't know, I think it's cute, funny. It's easy to remember because it's silly, right? If you can think of a better one, please drop a comment below. Let me know what you got. But for now, fat cats go down alleys eating bacon. F, fat cats. C, G for go. Fat cats go down. D, alleys. A, E, eating. B, bacon. Remember that order. And it's really helpful to practice writing it down for a treble clef and a bass clef, because you'll notice where they go on each clef is different because each sharp is representative of that note. So obviously we read treble and bass clef different. The distance between the sharps is the same, but that starting position is different, right? So that first sharp is on the top line of our treble clef, and in the bass clef, it's on the second to top line. But the distance and order and actual notes they're representing are the same. So don't forget your saying, write it down, write it down. Fat cats go down alleys eating bacon. Next, the flats. So the order of our flats, the mnemonic device we're gonna use, big elephants always drive go-karts fast.
Elephant.
Before you get all smart with me, yes, I know go-karts is spelled with a K, but in this case we're spelling it with a C because we don't have a K in music and it's a funny saying. Just work with me, okay? So big elephants always drive go-karts fast. And an easier way to kind of jumpstart your understanding of this one is the first 4 flats spell the word bead. B-E-A-D. Big elephants always drive. And then you just gotta remember go-karts fast. That's pretty much it. So remember the order of your sharps and the order of your flats. Practice writing them down, practice looking at them. You'll get it in your hands and you'll get it in your head. So now we need to use the different positions on the circle of fifths to identify keys of music.
How do I do it?
So that's what, when I was saying earlier, oh, let's vamp in A flat, right? That's how we know, using the circle of fifths, how many flats are in A flat major, right? Now you could memorize the key signatures individually, but like, that's a lot.
Whew, remembering is hard.
So instead, I have these cool little tricks that I teach my students and we refer to them every time we solve for keys, and eventually you just have them memorized. Like, I have all my circle of fifths memorized, but I had to do it this way first. So we're gonna go over each secret that I use for sharps and flats and how you can do the same. Let's do our sharps first. This one's pretty easy. The last sharp in the circle of fifths that you are, whatever position it may be, is the leading tone of your major key. If you don't know what a leading tone is, it is the tone that leads into the root of the scale. I've gone over this in previous videos. Definitely check the link if that is something that is not familiar to you, because it is a very important musical concept. But if you think you got it, or you came back, pause the video, came back to this one, awesome. But that last sharp is our leading tone. So let's think of our saying, fat cats go down alleys eating bacon. Let's pick a random one, right? So let's say like 5 sharps, right? Fat cats go down alleys. Okay, so F, C, G, D, and A. So the last sharp is A sharp. So A sharp is the leading tone of what key? All you have to do is go up a half step. That's it. So A sharp goes up a half step to B. So the key signature with 5 sharps is B major. All right, let's do it for another one. Let's do it in reverse. So why don't we say, all right, let's try and find the key signature for, I don't know, A major, right? Let's say A major. So the leading tone for A major, let's go down a half step, right? So that's gonna be G sharp. So now we use our circle of fifths to find out how many sharps that is. So let's stop till we get to the G. Fat cats go. Well, that was pretty fast. F, C, and G. The key of A major has 3 sharps. The trick that I use for flats is quite simple. The second to last flat in the circle of fifths is the major key. So what does that mean? Let's take a key signature with 3 flats, right? So let's use our saying, or we can just use the word bead. Remember, first 4 flats spell the word bead, so B-E-A, right? The second to last one is the major key, so B-E-A. So we are in the key of E flat major. And this is so important to note. Students do this sometimes and it's like, oh, it kills me. Because E and E flat are 2 different notes. Remember, these are flats, right? So this is not the key of E major. That's 4 sharps, by the way. E flat has 3 flats, all right? Let's try maybe another key signature, but in reverse. So let's try and find how many flats are in the key of D flat major. So we're gonna use our saying, and then we're gonna find that second to last flat when it's a D, all right? So big elephants always drive go-karts fast, all right? That's our whole saying. So big elephants always drive, okay, so there's our D, go. Okay, so D flat major has 5 flats, B-E-A-D-G. The second to last flat is D. So D flat major, 5 flats. So we've only covered major scales up until now. What about minor key signatures?
Okay, but why though?
Well, you actually already learned them. And that's because if you know your major keys, you also know your minor keys. And this is because of the concept that we call relative major and minor. It just basically means that every major scale has a relative minor. It shares the same key signature.
Say that again.
If you understand that relationship, by knowing your major scales, you know all the minor ones as well. And that relationship is pretty simple. 3 half steps. That's it. So if you want to find the relative minor, you go down 3 half steps. So if we are in the key of D major, the relative minor, let's go from D, C sharp, C, B. The relative minor is going to be B. That's it. So D major and B minor are relatives, right? Let's do another one of those. How about the key of F major, right? Remember that 1 flat? Don't forget, it's the one you gotta memorize. So we go down 3 half steps from F, we go to E, E flat, and then D. So the relative minor of F major is D. So make sure that you understand those major keys like forwards and backwards, and if you remember your 3 half step relationship, you also know all the key signatures for minor as well. So how we actually determine what key something is in, whether it's F major or D minor, it happens with the context of the music.
It's all about context.
And I have, of course, a separate video for that. So after this one, definitely check out my video about understanding key signatures, which is just basically the circle of fifths applied to music, and you will know that forwards and backwards. But for now, let's recap all the things in this video.
Quick recap. Things were going wonderfully.
All right, firstly, the circle of fifths is defined as the repeating order of sharps or flats by the interval of a fifth. The circle of fifths shows us what key we are in when we are playing music. Secondly, sharps and flats are always in the same order, which is why it is important that we memorize those mnemonic devices. So for sharps, fat cats go down alleys eating bacon, and for flats, big elephants always drive go-karts fast. If you have trouble with that one, remember the word bead, right? It's got your first 4 flats right there. Once you have those mnemonic devices memorized, I have 2 tricks to understand which key your music is in from looking at your circle of fifths. For sharps, the last sharp is the leading tone. So for example, if you have an F sharp, which is the first sharp of the circle of fifths, but sometimes it's the last one if you only got 1 sharp in the key, that is the leading tone for the key of G major. We go up a half step from F sharp and we are in G. The secret for flats is the second to last flat is the major key. Don't forget, you gotta memorize 1 flat is F major, but for all the other ones, let's try like 6 flats, right? So B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, right? So what's the next flat? Big elephants always drive go karts, C. So that's C flat, right? So B flat, E flat, A flat, D flat, G flat, and C flat. So we are in the key of G flat major. Pretty simple. And lastly, every major scale has a relative minor. This relationship is defined by 3 half steps. So if we are in the key of G major, we go down 3 half steps, so F sharp, F, and then E, and that relative minor is E minor. If we were to do it in reverse, let's say we're starting in the key of G minor, we want to figure out the relative major, you just go up 3 half steps. So G, we go up to A flat, to A, and then B flat. So the relative major of G minor is the key of B flat major. And that's it. If you can remember all these things, you know the key signatures for all 24 major and minor scales and their enharmonic equivalents. And that is a wrap for this video on the circle of fifths. I really hope it was helpful for you. You got some good mnemonic devices, and it's easy for you to identify what key your music is in. As always, drop a like, a comment, definitely subscribe if you have not. Check out www.thepowerfulpiano.com if you would like to support my ability to make this content and get some sick drip for yourself. It is much appreciated. As always, keep practicing and stay powerful, y'all.